things just got a whole load worse for Meghan Markle because her sister Samantha ain't going anywhere.
In my opinion, she would still be a waitress if it wasn't for Dad.
The buzz this morning centers around Meghan Markle's father.
It was because of Meghan that it was taken away. Meghan could have had her there if she wanted to have her there. Instead, she wanted to have a bunch of celebrities she barely knew, from the Clooneys to the Beckhams to Elton John to James Gordon to Timbuktu. I mean, it looked like anyone she'd met on the party circuit in the British.
As our fathers. So we have to include the men when we are self-glorifying. You know, there's got to be some acknowledgement there.
I'm going to quote Tom Bauer by saying, he said, look, we all laughed at Samantha and she was right. And everything she said has come true.
When she said, I lost my father, we knew that she didn't lose our dad. She iced our father.
Tragic news coming in. Meghan Markle's father, Thomas Markle, is undergoing leg amputation.
Something like that. So she wasn't even pregnant. It's very weird. And Harry, it was said to Harry, not to her. I mean, she just came.
All right, I do blame Meghan Markle. Meghan Markle, stain of humanity. Yes, Meghan, and I hope you're watching right now. I hope you're watching, Meghan, because you are the stain of humanity.
Lady C, after Thomas Markle Jr. this week described Meghan Markle as previously having been a, quote, yacht girl, there have been more revelations going viral from the past.
Before we even touch the family drama, the yachts, or the pregnancies, there's one number that could completely destroy the timeline everyone believes. Because if that number is wrong, even a little, then the entire story she's shared with the world starts falling apart from the very beginning. And here's where it gets interesting. The one person who should know that number better than almost anyone is her own sister, Samantha, who was there the day she was born.
I thought, what is she not contextually aware of? She's trying to hide something. This is really sloppy pool.
Thomas Markle Jr., the sister of Meghan, the Duchess of Sussex, has lashed out at his sister and her husband, Prince Harry, in the most brutal interview he has ever given.
Stay locked in, because today we're looking at 3 different people who never teamed up, never compared stories, yet somehow they all point in the same direction. The official story says August 4th, 1981. That date is repeated everywhere, like it's locked in stone. But then Thomas Markle Sr., her own father, gave an interview right after the royal wedding, and when he talked about her birth, he said, 40 years ago. Now pause and really think about that. That interview happened in 2018, so if you go back 40 years, that lands closer to 1978, not 1981. That's not a small mix-up, that's a noticeable gap coming straight from the man who was actually there when she was born. Not gossip, not online rumors, but her own father speaking.
Any advice for Harry?
Yeah, stop talking about the royals. Stop giving away all the secrets about the royals. And, love your children and love your wife, but also love your grandmother and love your father.
People watching didn't miss this either. Viewers started doing the math right away, and the questions started rolling in fast. If the age doesn't match up, then what else might not be adding up in the timeline? Then there's Thomas Markle Jr., who also stepped forward and claimed she didn't complete her final semester at Northwestern. Not because it was too hard, but saying she didn't finish at all.
Know us, it's just very bizarre how she just basically brushed the entire family under the carpet like we don't exist, and then lied about not having a family and lied about she doesn't have a family that she's always wanted. We've always been.
So now you've got doubts about the graduation year and doubts about the birth year, and suddenly that whole period she described as her struggling actress phase in Los Angeles starts to look unclear. That stretch of time becomes harder to pin down, and that's exactly where more questions start stacking up. Some relatives have even hinted at a possible early chapter in her life when she was around 18 or 19. Reports suggest the person connected to that time would now be around 30, which only adds another layer to everything people are already questioning.
Decided you're all too big a problem. Therefore, you have to be cut loose. And I got to be honest, I knew Meghan for a bit before she met Harry. Did exactly the same to me. Bang, done. She did that to many people that she knew, that she'd either worked with or was friends with or whatever. It just seems to me she's what I would...
Possibly even starting a family of their own, which would flip the public timeline people think they know completely on its head. And here's the wild part. This chapter has never been clearly addressed in major interviews. Not in big TV appearances, not in streaming documentaries, not even in those carefully told personal stories. If even a small piece of this timeline turned out to be true, it would seriously change how people look at everything that came after.
I don't think that she'll ever let Harry go, because she is so fixated on having a title that she doesn't even have or deserve anymore, right? Yeah. Technically, she's not part of the royal family. On paper, on the website, Duke and Duchess of Sussex. And I think that's her biggest, that's anybody's biggest mistake in their entire.
We're talking about an age that raises eyebrows, an academic path that sparks questions, and a whole chapter of life that still feels unclear. Now let's get into the years that are the hardest to explain. The public story sounds familiar. An aspiring actress in Los Angeles, picking up small roles, earning modest checks, working as a briefcase assistant on Deal or No Deal, and making quick appearances on shows like CSI. It's the classic grind people recognize, the kind of journey that feels real and relatable, and most people get that struggle. But at the exact same time, there are actual photos out there. Real images showing her at luxury yacht gatherings across the Mediterranean, high-end Monaco parties, and elite social circles on private decks surrounded by powerful figures.
Your sister, Meghan Markle, has ruined Prince Harry.
The answer is yes. I mean, every single interview, every single picture, every place they go, Meghan grabs him. Meghan controls him. Meghan tells him no. Meghan stands in front of him. She controls every single situation like she is the star. And she's turned Prince Harry into a man of non-substance, for her own well-being.
These aren't normal events. These are the kind of places most people never step foot in, not even once. So naturally, questions start coming up fast. How did she get those invites? Who brought her into those spaces? What connections placed her in those circles at that stage in her career? Because let's be real, a briefcase role doesn't usually take someone to Monaco. It doesn't normally lead to private yachts in Croatia. And it definitely doesn't open doors to those ultra-exclusive environments.
She's already gotten the benefit of her bargain with Harry because she got the title. That's what she wanted. She wanted to be world famous. She wanted the title. You remember when Harry was single, he was the elephant. He was the one, the most eligible bachelor on earth. You could be a royal. You could become world famous overnight. You could live in a castle. You could have access to the crown jewels. You would be a princess. My God, yes, he could have had his.
Author Kirby Summers has claimed that Meghan received an invitation to Yacht Week in Croatia back in 2016. And this isn't just some casual vacation spot. It's known as a private, high-level social scene where influential people connect away from cameras, behind closed decks. Getting into spaces like that usually means you know the right people. Invitations like that don't just show up for someone still going to small auditions or chasing minor TV roles. Some observers have pointed out that certain opportunities seem to come through social introductions instead of traditional casting routes.
Had those things, it would be very easy just to put them out there and say, this is what happened. This is what it is.
I'm going to quote Tom Bauer by saying, he said, look, we all laughed at Samantha and she was right. And everything she said has come true.
Her career path looked like it expanded through networks rather than just auditions. Trevor Engelson, a Hollywood producer, later became her first husband, adding another layer to those connections. She also moved into Soho House circles and built a connection with Marcus Anderson, someone known for linking people to powerful networks.
Has come forward and has absolutely revealed, and you're going to listen to her. She has absolutely revealed and confirmed that Meghan Markle was never pregnant, never gave birth to any children.
A lot of people believe these introductions helped open doors that shaped her acting career, including landing her role in Suits. And eventually, those same circles placed her in the kind of environments where she met Prince Harry. Thomas Markle Jr. has even said he watched these changes happen up close, which only adds more attention to how everything seemed to shift over time. Growing up in the same household, he claimed he watched those social circles shift in real time, noticing moments where the lifestyles seemed to level up faster than expected. It wasn't a slow climb. It looked like sudden jumps that caught his attention. Then, in 2018, he took it even further and wrote an open letter to Prince Harry, laying out serious concerns about her personality, using words like shallow, phony, and a bully. That kind of language instantly grabbed headlines and stirred reactions everywhere. At the time, a lot of people brushed it off as nothing more than family drama spilling into the public. The royal wedding still went ahead without pause. But in the years that followed, public tensions with relatives, stepping away from royal duties, and ongoing strained relationships all became major talking points.
I think the palace and the machinery of the monarchy needs to take Harry and Meghan more seriously and make sure that Harry and Meghan's antics don't impact the future.
Now the debate is still alive. Some people think those early warnings meant something, while others believe it was just personal conflict being amplified. In May 2025, Thomas Markle Jr. revealed plans for a book focused on the years before Suits. Early descriptions say he plans to share details about events and personal relationships that he believes challenge the version of the timeline people have heard so far.
Is always attempting to, shall we say, build relationships with very, very, very rich men.
Royal family, you should be so thankful this woman wanted to leave, because she's not going to bring any good to the branding of royal. She's going to downgrade it to a level of ghetto, and that's what it is. This is just bad.
At the same time, Thomas Markle Sr. has reportedly been receiving medical care in the Philippines, with family members supporting him during recovery. That situation alone adds another emotional layer to everything already going on. From the outside, there's often a message of unity and strong family values. But behind the scenes, things appear far more complicated and tense.
As the father, the man who raised her solo, when her mum ditched her during her teenage years, things just got a whole load worse for Meghan Markle because her sister Samantha ain't going anywhere.
When people feel ignored or pushed aside, it's common for old disagreements to resurface and come out in the open. Doria Ragland has usually been seen as calm, steady, and supportive, especially during major public moments. That image has stayed consistent for years. But some accounts from people familiar with the early stages of Meghan's relationship with Prince Harry describe her reaction as immediate and surprised.
With Doria around, or that it's a client of Doria, I think that the FBI and the police should get involved. I think that the FBI and the police should get involved in this loving kindness senior care management.
Reportedly saying, "Oh my God," when she found out who Meghan was dating. That reaction has been interpreted by some as instant awareness of how significant that relationship could become. Then, in June 2020, records show a California company called Loving Kindness Senior Care Management was registered, with Doria Ragland listed in executive roles. Public filings connect the business to a Wilshire Boulevard address in Beverly Hills, adding another layer of visibility. The company focuses on senior support services, including helping clients handle legal matters like power of attorney arrangements. These are serious responsibilities that involve managing finances or important decisions on someone else's behalf.
Keep in mind that Doria the snake, when she went into the church, when King Charles, well, the then Prince Charles, but we're going to call him King Charles for the purposes of this, was being kind to her, was buying her all those expensive clothes because she, for some reason, required like 10 or 20 gowns for that wedding. And of course, they all had to be very expensive. The cheapest one, I think, was like 4,000 pounds. He bought it. So when the royal family was bending over backwards to please these two grifters, Doria had already decided that this was going to be about race. That's what's coming down the pike. So when she stood on the stairs of that church, that chapel where Harry and Meghan came out of, she was already, and her and Meghan had already hatched a plan and were ready to trash those people. She despised these people.
In situations like that, trust is everything. People want to feel confident about who they're allowing into those roles. And when it comes to building that trust, reputation, and public image can carry a lot of weight. Connections to well-known circles, especially something as high-profile as royal ties, can create a strong sense of credibility in the eyes of potential clients, which makes these details stand out even more. When people hear phrases linked to prestigious institutions, it instantly creates a sense of trust and security.
In June 2020, this is during the whole thing of Harry and Meghan Markle. You have the Loving Kindness Senior Care Management Inc., right? This is where Doria Ragland is the CEO, and she's the whole thing of the business. It was opened, it was established, or it was filed. This is opened by Meghan Markle's lawyers. And if you can see, the address is 0665 Wilshire Boulevard, 5th floor, Beverly Hills, which is pretty much, I think, her agent's, Meghan Markle's lawyer's address. This business has no physical address, and it is cash only. So she doesn't have a bank account for this.
That kind of branding carries weight, and it sticks in people's minds fast. But records show something that caught attention. The business registration address reportedly overlapped with legal offices connected to Meghan's professional representation. That detail alone has raised eyebrows among commentators who follow these developments closely because it adds another layer people didn't expect. Observers have also pointed out a contrast that's hard to ignore. On one side, there's public messaging about distance within the family, but on the other, there's a business model built around deeply personal financial authority roles. That gap is exactly what gets people talking. Situations involving power of attorney are serious by nature. They can give someone control over major life decisions, access to financial accounts, and influence over long-term planning.
She identifies herself as the mother of the Duchess of Sussex. So she is exploiting the brand of her daughter. And it's quite rich because didn't Meghan Markle disown her own father for supposedly doing that? So she does identify, and she says that she's a member of the royal family, which technically she is, because her daughter is married to a member of the royal family. So Meghan also is considered a member of the royal family. But it's interesting how she identifies herself, because you know why this is crucial? Because being a member of the British royal family gives her credibility. People will trust.
That's not something people take lightly. So whenever legal authority mixes with trust-based relationships, people naturally start asking more questions about how those connections were built in the first place. Thomas Markle Sr. was known for supporting Meghan's early ambitions in a big way. He helped pay for her education, introduced her to studio environments, and spoke publicly with pride about her future. Interviews show he consistently described her as someone he truly believed in. But after the royal wedding, things reportedly became more complicated. Communication didn't explode into public arguments. Instead, it seemed to fade into distance and silence.
Disturbing, saying that, she doesn't have a family, she doesn't have a father, and Harry saying that she has no father now. That's just ridiculous.
Reports suggested that reaching her required going through multiple intermediaries, and even then, responses were limited. During the intense media buildup before the wedding, Thomas Sr. faced heavy public pressure. Without clear direction on how to handle it, he agreed to stage photographs, a move that quickly turned into global headlines. What still gets discussed is that the photographer involved was reportedly not entirely disconnected from extended professional circles tied to the situation. Whether that was coincidence or a misunderstanding, the damage to family communication was serious and long-lasting. Then came major health issues that pulled even more public attention into the story. Before the wedding, Thomas Sr. dealt with a serious heart condition that required hospitalization. Later, a stroke affected his health and mobility, making international news. In December 2025, reports say he underwent emergency surgery in the Philippines after complications from a blood clot became life-threatening.
It's just, mind-boggling how you could just continue to walk through life and not even give the man a phone call and pay for the best medical care that dad needs right now. He's going through therapy, he's going through physical rehab, and we're gonna have to get him fitted for a prosthetic here pretty soon and get that man walking again. So that's the goal, that's the priority, and I'm good doing that. And I hope next time, Meghan, that you see a disabled person or somebody who has, only one leg, I hope you think real hard. And I hope karma beats the living Christ out of your mentality. Because God knows, Meghan, God knows. He's got a special place for you right next to that cabinet, when you're not even going to get up there. You're going straight to hell.
Family members were there during recovery while doctors worked to stabilize him, adding an emotional weight to everything already unfolding. Across all of this, people keep asking the same question. Were there private efforts to reconnect, or did the distance remain unresolved? Because when serious health events happen and there's no visible public contact, speculation naturally grows fast. For years, Samantha Markle's statements were often dismissed as personal complaints or family tension. But now, some observers are pointing out that certain patterns she mentioned, like limited access, controlled communication, and carefully managed public narratives, are being looked at more closely than before. Those claims didn't just fade away. They slowly turned into bigger media discussions over time. Royal biographer Tom Bower even pointed out that early skepticism towards Samantha's statements started to shift as more details entered the public conversation. From that angle, some people now see the push to revisit earlier timelines as less about old family drama and more about clearing up details that never fully made sense. It's not just rehashing the past, it's questioning the gaps.
My point is, out there were inconsistent with the idea of a real pregnancy. And when you're pregnant, there's not a pillow under your skirt. And there's live footage of her walking towards camera with her abdomen swaying left to right in a black and white check.
Then came a moment that really got people talking. During a widely watched TV interview, Meghan said, "I grew up as an only child.
I grew up as an only child, which everyone who grew up around me knows. I would have loved to have had siblings, so I'm so excited to be pregnant so that Archie has someone."
That one line instantly sparked debate. Because Samantha has always maintained they shared parts of their upbringing in the same household. Supporters say that comment reflected emotional distance, not literal reality. Critics, on the other hand, see it as simplifying a much more complicated family story. The timeline questions didn't stop there either. In October 2018, a pregnancy announcement came just 5 months after the wedding, and it immediately became global headline news. Everything moved fast. The story spread everywhere, and suddenly every detail was being watched closely.
The doctor talks about both the children, and listen to what she says.
So you tell me to tell you something that maybe a dozen people actually know that's going to come out very soon. Okay. Meghan Markle, the reason why you watch her interviews and she just seems off. She's owned by a pharmaceutical company. The 2 children that she had, they're not hers. She didn't have them with Harry. And how her and Harry met is that she's a
People started noticing things that felt a little different from the usual royal pattern. Normally, major royal moments come with clear structure. Public appearances are documented, updates are carefully released, and medical details are confirmed in a consistent way. That's what people are used to seeing. But in this case, some observers pointed out that certain expected elements seemed limited or tightly controlled. There were no widely shared hospital arrival photos, very few confirmations coming directly from medical staff, and almost no independent witnesses speaking publicly. That kind of absence doesn't prove anything on its own, but it does create curiosity, and curiosity spreads fast online.
I grew up as an only child, which everyone who grew up around me knows. I would have loved to have had siblings, so I'm so excited to be pregnant so that Archie has someone.
In this case, about whether you think the birth was real, whether you think there was a surrogate, whether you think Meghan was wearing a moon bump, the fact is, Harry and Meghan lied. Buckingham Palace lied on their behalf. There was a complete cover-up over the birth of Prince Archie.
People started comparing timelines, analyzing public appearances, and asking whether everything lined up exactly as presented. When public attention hits that level, every small detail gets magnified. Some commentators focused on how dates, appearances, and public engagements matched up during that time. Others pointed to how private the information was handled, which stood out because moments like this are usually highly visible. In structured environments like royal institutions, even small deviations from the norm tend to grab attention quickly. Public figures always have to balance privacy with transparency, especially during major life events that attract global audiences. That balance isn't easy, and opinions split fast. When parts of a timeline are hard to independently verify, speculation naturally grows louder. People go back, rechecking past statements, looking for consistency across the years. Critics argue that what they're seeing is tight control over the narrative.
According to Tom Bowers, Doria Ragland was back then a drug dealer in the set of the production of the soap opera or whatever it was that he was filming. He was doing the lighting for. She was a drug dealer, according to Tom Bowers. So this is a woman who was already out there in the dark world, Ragland Doria. And that was in 1997. And she was kicked out of. They had to kick her out. They had to take her to court because she refused to leave, and she owed them over, if I believe correctly, over $10,000 in 1997, way back.
Supporters argue the privacy was necessary because of intense media pressure and constant scrutiny. Both sides exist at the same time, and that's what makes this situation so divided. Every detail, no matter how small, gets interpreted in completely different ways depending on who's looking at it. Meanwhile, media analysts started circling back to earlier chapters, digging into education timelines, career moves, social connections, and family relationships, all trying to see if everything actually lines up across public records. The deeper they looked, the more attention those details started getting. When multiple unanswered questions show up in the same story, curiosity doesn't stay quiet, it builds fast. Some observers say the issue isn't about one single moment, but whether the full timeline holds together without cracks. Others push back, saying public figures deserve clear boundaries, especially when it comes to health and family matters. But one thing stays consistent. When timelines have gaps, when details feel selectively shared, and when people connected to earlier chapters keep speaking out, the interest doesn't disappear, it grows louder.
But I thought at the time I wasn't going to touch it because Doria is Meghan's mother. Doria has nothing to do with Meghan and Harry and any of the mischief they're getting up to. And it really wouldn't be right of me to bring up what Doria's past has been or the speculation about her past. So I gave it a totally wide berth. But after the Netflix series, where Doria is so clearly pushing fire. This is and she's a real Uriah Heep. And it's racism. Everything is racism. Racism. I thought, no, you're right in there pushing the racist fire.
And once curiosity hits that level, every past moment gets pulled back into the spotlight again. When Archie was first introduced publicly, viewers quickly noticed how controlled the moment looked. Cameras kept their distance, limiting what could actually be seen clearly. Every angle, every movement, every second was picked apart by online audiences trying to match it with the timeline they had been given. Not long after, older clips started resurfacing everywhere. People went back, rewatching earlier appearances frame by frame. Some viewers claimed certain visual details didn't match what they personally expected to see at different stages of pregnancy. One commenter, who identified themselves as a medical professional with experience in obstetrics, shared an opinion that physical indicators during a major televised interview appeared more consistent with medical hormone support rather than a typical pregnancy presentation. That statement was presented as a professional opinion, not just random guessing, which made the discussion spread even faster online.
Meghan, a geriatric mother. The family claims and states that Meghan had a hysterectomy. How can a woman with a hysterectomy be pregnant? And most of all, why did the royal family go along with this? And what's going to happen now that this has come out? This is a punishable crime. This is fraud in the highest level.
Then came the second birth announcement, and according to some critics, it followed a very similar pattern in how information was shared, which only added more attention to everything people were already questioning: limited hospital visibility, delays in documentation being released weeks later, and a strong focus on privacy created yet another moment where curiosity started growing faster than confirmed facts. The less people saw, the more they started asking questions. Thomas Markle Jr. has also made public claims in interviews saying that a past medical procedure may have taken place, even giving an estimated timeline for when he believes it happened. He hasn't just said it once either, he's repeated it over time, which has pushed some commentators to wonder whether alternative family building methods could have been used privately. At the same time, it's important to keep this grounded. None of these claims have been officially confirmed, and medical information is deeply personal territory. Legal analysts sometimes bring up older royal traditions, including historical wording about heirs being born of the body, language that dates back centuries and isn't often discussed today. Institutions usually stay silent on private health matters, which leaves certain questions hanging without clear answers. Supporters argue strongly that privacy should come first, especially when it involves medical history and family life. Critics push the opposite direction, saying public narratives should stay consistent across the board. That clash of perspectives keeps the debate alive without any clear resolution. When multiple relatives from the same family start speaking publicly, people naturally begin comparing their stories side by side. They look for overlaps, patterns, and anything that lines up. Some observers believe they see recurring themes around unclear timelines, personal distance, and tightly managed narratives. Others think it simply reflects complicated family relationships rather than anything hidden. Looking at the bigger picture, the debate doesn't always focus on one single moment. It's more about whether the full timeline flows smoothly from the beginning all the way to now. Public image, personal history, and family relationships rarely unfold in a clean, simple way, especially under constant global attention. Thomas Markle Jr. has now said his upcoming book will dive into specific moments from earlier years, including people he claims played roles in shaping the timeline before Suits brought wider recognition. His past statements back in 2018 already pulled attention, and now people are watching closely to see if new details come out or if the same questions stay unanswered. One big question keeps coming up again and again when new versions of the story appear. Do they actually clear things up, or do they just add another layer to an already complicated situation? If you've got thoughts on all this, drop them in the comments and let your voice be heard. If this breakdown made you look at things differently, make sure to subscribe and stick around for more deep dives like this. And don't forget to hit that like button and share this with someone who needs to see it.